Welcome back. This is Uhfgood, aka Keith Weatherby the second, aka Uhfgood. Anyways, we are going through Blender 3D Noob to Pro. What Blender can do is the name of the chapter or whatever. But Noob to Pro, which is a wiki book, and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna try to convert it to 2.8 and see if I can't go through some of the tutorials and stuff. Figuring this will help me learn it a bit. Okay, so we were starting with this image as an example of what Blender can do, and that was possible in Blender 2.5. Pretty cool. And then you can view more about what Blender can do at the Blender Gallery, blender.org features, and we'll see if that features page is still there, and it is. Rendering, modeling, animation, VFX simulation pipeline, game creation. Except you can't really do game creation. See where it says deprecated right there? It's not going to be part of Blender 2.8, so Blender Game Engine is going to be gone. I could have actually maybe made my game with Blender Game Engine, and I was going to originally do that before when I was thinking about doing it before. But I had decided I was kind of him-hawing around because of the 2.8. I heard about 2.8, a year and a half or whatever it was. And so I was just like, oh, maybe I should wait. And I kind of did. And so now it's taken out. But Armory came in, but it's still not that mature. It also does video editing, which is cool. I've tried it. I messed with it. You've seen it in some of my previous videos. We got scripting with Python, and I don't really know what you can do with Python. You can do lots of stuff, changing how it behaves and what it looks like and all this stuff, but customize can be fully customized. So I could go on into these in depth. I don't know if Cycles is Blender's ray trace-based production render engine. Unidirectional path tracing. Multiple. Actually, you know what? I should just say you should go to blender.org/features and look them up yourself, because I'll just be wasting a lot of time on the video describing all the features that it has. It does motion tracking, which is cool. I mean, if you're making movies and stuff and you want to insert a 3D object into a real taped or filmed scene, you can use their tracking features, and then you can edit it in the editor, and you can do green screen. You can do pretty much everything except for like making music in it. And who knows if they won't ever make some sort of music and sound effects program. I mean, that would almost make it like the total package. But in any case, it does a lot of cool stuff. Okay, so let's go. That was an example. Steps in the. If you're wondering why I've taken off my glasses, it's because my eyes have gotten to the point of where I now actually probably need reading glasses, although I can kind of make do. It's just a little blurry, so I can still read it and everything. So not only am I nearsighted, but I'm no longer that much nearsighted. So in other words, now I'll be needing bifocals to look up close and to look far away, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but that's the way life is. So to produce an image like the one above, and oh, that's right, didn't I increase the size? I did, didn't I? That's the one thing I can do. Should I do it 4? 5. It's a little bit big. We'll do it at 4. Okay. Steps in the 3D production process. In fact, I can actually take this off and I can see that pretty good. Even though it's still a little blurry, it's much easier to read now. So, to produce an image like the one above involves two major steps to start with. Modeling, which is the creation of your miniature 3D world, also known as a model or scene. This involves defining the geometry of the objects, making it look like they're made out of particular materials, setting up the lighting, and defining a camera viewpoint. So modeling is just like shapes. It's like, you know, cubes and boxes and stuff, and then you can manipulate it. And rendering, which is the actual generation of the image of the world from the viewport of the camera, taking a photograph of the scene, if you like, for your audience to enjoy. 3D is often used to produce not just single still image, but animations as well, as requires some additional steps. Rigging. Setting up a rig, namely a way of deforming, changes the shape of a character in various repeatable ways to convincingly mimic joint movements, facial expressions, and other such actions of real life people or animals. And I'm not sure, the rigging thing might be way different in 2.8 versus 2.5. Maybe not. Maybe just the little, you know, the difference between the interfaces, but it's possible that could be like completely different now. I don't know because I never really used it before. Posing, choreographing the positions of the objects and their parts in the 3D scene over time using the previously created animation rigs. Rendering now involves creating a whole sequence of frames representing movement over time rather than just a single still frame. But that's not all. There are frequently additional processes to embellish the results of the above to make them more realistic. Sculpting, a more organic form of modeling objects by shaping them as though they were made out of clay. This produces more complicated irregular shapes which mimic real objects found in nature as opposed to clean, simple geometrical ones which mostly exist in the world of mathematics. And the sculpting might be a little bit more advanced now too. Actually, most of this might be more advanced, but it does have all this stuff in it. Texture painting. You're probably familiar with the programs that let you paint an image on 2D digital cameras. Such programs are commonly used in 3D production to create textures which are wrapped around the surfaces of 3D objects to get a more interesting appearance. 3D programs also often allow direct painting on the surfaces of those objects, so the effect of the design can be observed immediately instead of having to go through a separate paint on a flat surface then wrap sequence of steps. And Grant Abbott has several tutorials or vids or whatever showing this process, and this is primarily what I'm going to be doing the backgrounds in my game with. Okay. Physical modeling, simulating the behavior of real-world objects subject to real-world forces. For example, hard balls colliding, soft cloth draping itself over an obstacle under gravity, water flowing, and pouring. Mathematical formulas are available for these that give results very close to real life. All you need is the computing power to calculate them. And the fluid simulation stuff has something called flip fluids, which I guess are their fluids based on different types of like water. I don't know if you call them particles or what, but different types of water things that make up a water. You might have a big body of water. You might have little bubbles or something, and so they're different aspects of the fluids. So that might be way different, or it might be just like an add-on thing where I can do all the fluid stuff in there, but then if I want to go further, I can do the other. So I don't know. We'll see if I can even do any of that. Motion capture, or mocap, producing convincing animation, particularly ones that look like the movements of real people walking, running, dancing, etc., can be hard. Hence the technique of capturing the motions of live actions by filming them with special markers attached to strategic points on their bodies, and doing computer processing to track the movements of these markers and convert them to corresponding movements of an animation rig. What's cool is that Blender now comes with motion tracking. I'm not sure, I don't think 2.5 had motion tracking. Like I said, I don't think it was there till like 2.65 or 2.66 or somewhere in there, maybe. 2.5 may have had it, but in any case, that means you can do the same thing. You can do motion tracking. You can essentially motion capture. I don't know if it's the exact same thing as the standard mocap, using balls or whatever. You can use pretty much anything for tracking markers. So that it can include stuff like balls, but little lights or little marks or whatever. You can track it, and then you can apply it to, say, your rigged model. So it does it realistically. It's sort of like a 3D rotoscoping. Compositing. This is where the 3D renders are merged together. Bat community. Yes, you're supposed to be able to tip your I know this is not to do with Blender, but tipping, I guess, your favorite websites, creators of your favorite stuff. So you tip them in this cryptocurrency called BAT, or Basic Attention Token. Right now, I'm not tipping anything to anybody because I'm not making that much. But I've got these ads in order to earn it, and I've earned a few BATs now. So in any case, compositing. This is where 3D renders are merged together with real photographic live action footage to make it look like a rendered model is in the middle of a real world scene, or conversely, a real live actor in the middle of the rendered scene. If done with proper skill and particular care due to matching the effects of lights and shadows, the viewer becomes unable to tell what's real and what is not. And just to add a complication to the mix, there are two kinds of rendering. Real time rendering is rendering that has to happen under tight time constraints, typically for interactive applications like video gaming. For example, most gamers expect the screen to be updated 60 times per second in order to render smooth motion and respond quickly enough to player actions. These time constraints impose major limitations on the kinds of rendering techniques that can be used. Non-real-time rendering is where the time constraints are not so tight and quality is the overriding factor. For example, when producing a single still frame, it may not matter so much that it takes minutes or hours to do, because the beauty and the detail of the final image is worth it. When rendering a Hollywood quality movie, it may still take hours per frame, but the use of a render farm of hundreds or thousands of machines all working on different frames at the same time allows the entire sequence to complete in just a few weeks. But wait, there's more. There's also some areas which might be considered to be stepping outside of traditional 3D production work where Blender provides functionality. Video editing. Having rendered your animation sequences and shot your live action footage, you'll want to combine them in a properly timed linear sequence to tell a coherent story. 3D printing. That's still in its early days yet. Still kind of in its early days right now, even. But yeah. People are already experimenting with creating objects using 3D printers. The shape data may be obtained from real objects with 3D scanning, or may be created from scratch using 3D modeling, or you even combine both processes. Blender is capable to for every single one of these processes. It's quite a lot, isn't there? But don't be too intimidated. This wiki book will take things step by step, and you'll be able to produce some fun stuff from early on. Okay, so what I was going to say in here about oh yeah, of course, you probably know this if you've been following Blender, but Blender has a new rendering engine called Eevee, which is basically real-time rendering, which is more like what you see in a game. But I guess our game quality graphics are now so good that you can actually use them and substitute for some of the previous stuff that we used to do. In fact, now we got real-time ray tracing in some cards and stuff. So now even stuff like cycles may eventually be deprecated, because now you'll be able to do everything in real time. So that's kind of cool. Anyways, additional resources: 3D rendering at Wikipedia, comparison of 3D computer graphics software, computer generated imagery, depth perception at Wikipedia, Blender Art Gallery. We'll see if this is still there. It looks like it is because it's the archive, right? And then the Blender homepage, of course. So I'll kind of leave this video on this note, and then we'll come back to it, and we'll continue on. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.